Hello, everybody. Welcome to Irongeek Cast number 187. I like Nano. What is your textual preference? I wonder if that offends any like anything like Notepad or if it offends like I like Notepad plus plus if I'm on a Windows box.
Yeah. Hey Trey, you're muted. We can't hear you. I saw your lips move, but we didn't hear you. Come out.
Come out and play.
Yeah, we can't hear you, man. What if it's having a browser issue?
Well, we'll see how it goes. Oh, and device not connected.
How about now?
Oh, there we go.
I don't know why it made my default microphone my PS4 controller. I didn't even know that thing had a mic in it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, on the subject of favorite text editor for Linux, VI. For Windows, I use Notepad++ because, you know, it's got a lot of useful features in
VI
it.
is useful to know just because it's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, it's installed by default in pretty much every major distribution.
Yeah, we're gonna rehash the world's oldest argument right here.
Well, no.
Emacs
We're not doing that. We're just saying that VI is there. I'm not saying it's better. It's what I know, what I use, and what I love.
Does anybody know anybody who uses Emacs anymore?
I have people, yeah.
Wow, you know some old people.
Yeah, I do. I'm actually the youngest person on my team.
Really?
So, yeah. Not by a lot, but like the next oldest person's like what 2 or 3 years older than me. So.
Oh shit! I'm older than my boss is.
But I actually had an interview many years ago. I was asked the question VI versus Emacs, and I was like, "Oh shit, we're gonna do this." And I kind of laughed and I said, "Well, VI," and gave some reasons, and they were like, "Okay." And you know, it was more of a joke, you know, try and test and see how you can do. But I thought, you know, I should have really gone with the ultimate hipster answer and said Ed.
Yeah, I think I've said stuff like that before. That was
I'd be like, no, I run Notepad++ on Wine.
or you go like the proto hipster angle is no, I use a magnetized needle and a very delicate hand.
I had some class, maybe it was at Ivy Tech back in the day, where I had to use Ed as part of the class.
Yeah, they don't teach that anymore. I've used Ed like once because it is so super unintuitive. I mean, it literally embodies user unfriendliness.
I guess graphic displays, I mean, even text, you know, terminal type displays were more crude back then, but
Well, I mean, yeah, that was the old line printer. Was, you know, instead of printing out to a screen, it would literally write out to, you know, a printer and print out real time what you were doing. We're talking like 60s and 70s, and then finally, you know, monitors started becoming more of a thing.
I think Barry in the chat, he said what his favorite, like, he was like Nano. I use Nano just because it's fucking easy.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, all the main things you need to do, it's all right there in the, you know, you what to hit. So,
Uh-oh.
what?
I just logged out of an account because I was trying to do something, and I have the password to it. Whoops.
People may get the reference of why I named the show what I did tonight. Just, you know, I routinely name things after stupid internet drama, or partly internet drama.
What other kind of drama is there anymore?
Well, there's in-person drama. There's TV dramas. So everybody doing okay tonight?
Yeah, man, doing all right.
Yeah. Yesterday I was dead on my feet, but I'm doing pretty good today. So.
Oh, by the way, is your microphone working? Okay, Barry?
Yeah, I think it seems to be working.
Okay, just making sure. All right, let's get into the show notes.
All right. So the show notes are crap. I'm signed out of that too. It's gonna give me a minute. I'll be right with you. Oh, I should be able to access them from here. That's interesting. So anybody can access the show notes. Okay.
Anybody can access them, yes.
All right. So in today's show notes, we've got tons of fun shit for you. First thing we're going to be talking about is Microsoft's failed attempt to assassinate the TrickBot botnet. So this was a joint effort, not just with Microsoft, but also with the I don't know, whatever our cybersecurity military people are called, which I will get to as soon as I have the actual article up. But so we took their C2 servers, is essentially what happened. They seized the domains that were being used for the TrickBot's command and control shit. And sources that were monitoring the TrickBot activity described the takedown as temporal and limited, but they did praise Microsoft and its partners' effort in trying to take it down, even though they kind of failed. It kind of did set a bit of a precedent. Usually Microsoft doesn't try to seize botnet domains, so that's interesting. This was a coordinated attack. It wasn't just Microsoft involved. There were security firms like Intel 471 and some other people that are in the other articles that are not currently loaded on my screen. And it talks about how it set a new legal precedent because the court case that preceded the takedown helped Microsoft in essentially creating new precedent. So the OS maker argued that the TrickBot malware abused Windows code for malicious purposes against its terms of service. And therefore, Microsoft was able to argue that they were infringing on their copyright so they could take their domain.
Okay.
Not the way things are normally done, but it's one way to get the domain, right? So the approach talked about the misuse of Windows Software Development Kit code, and it's both easier to prove and argue, but it can be used in any jurisdiction, providing Microsoft's legal team with a very agile approach for going after malware gangs. So essentially saying now that malware is violating our terms of service, and now we can take their domains, which is definitely a new tactic. I don't think we've seen that one before. Next is another article about the same thing, about how TrickBot was forced offline. We're not going to cover that one, but we are going to cover the third one, which is about how the TrickBot assault shows U.S. military hackers' growing reach. So for more than 2 years, the General Paul Nakasone has promised that under his leadership, U.S. Cyber Command would defeat forward, finding adversaries and preemptively disrupting their operations. Now that offensive strategy has taken an unexpected form, an operation designed to disable or take down TrickBot, the world's largest botnet, believed to be controlled by Russian cybercriminals. In doing so, Cyber Command set a new, very public and potentially messy precedent for how U.S. hackers will strike out against foreign actors, even those working as non-state criminals. That's interesting.
Cool.
It's a cool way to go after them, I think. It's just, it's going to get abused eventually, and it's not going to be as good as they would like it to be. Next, we've got hacker groups chaining VPN and Windows bugs together to hack government networks. Always like when the government networks get hacked, right? It's always fun. This article is from Catalin Sampanu. He writes a lot of the shit that we use for this podcast because he writes a lot of good shit. So some hackers have gained access to government networks by combining both the VPN and Windows bugs. This is pretty typical, as you'll get in with one bug and then use another bug for privilege escalation. The CISA is aware of some instances where activity resulted in unauthorized access to elections systems. However, CISA has no evidence to date that the integrity of elections data has been compromised. So they are using zero login along with multiple VPN bugs for different VPN providers. Providers is the wrong word. Vendors. Like there's a Fortinet 40OS SSL bug that they're using that affects their secure gateway and access control systems. There's some Fortinet stuff. I actually talk about some more VPN bugs in the very next article. But yeah, once they get in, they just use RDP and they move around like you'd expect your typical threat actor to. But now that they've got zero login, once they're in there, it's a lot easier for them to get domain admin very, very quickly. All you need to do is pop a single box on the network and you're domain admin, because from that box you can just authenticate to the domain controller using that code where essentially lets you authenticate and get DA very quickly. So yeah, they're doing that. And also there's a Sonic Wall VPN bug that's out there now. It's allowing for some RCE. And people are trying to worm this bug together now with some other flaws. So people who are running honeypots are starting to see activity where people are scanning for essentially this. They're trying to exploit this VPN bug. And then once they think they've successfully once they think they've successfully exploited the bug, they then use some other exploits that are kind of like one days, trying to pivot and go and do the things that you do once you're in the network. It's good shit. Next but not least, is that a thing? Anyway, Bad Neighbor. It is Windows RCE overflow in IPv6. We've got some proof of concept code, and we also got an article from Bleeping Computer in our show notes. US Cyber Command, patch Windows Bad Neighbor TCP IP bug. So right now there is a denial of service proof of concept code for this. However, with a little bit more time and effort from exploit devs, it could turn into a way of doing full-fledged RCE via what appears to be somewhat of a overflow on the IPv6 stack. On Patch Tuesday, this past week, they did fix the bug, but there are still going to be a lot of places that have not rolled out the latest patches. Right now, it's pretty much just denial of service because you can crash a Windows box with it if you're on the same network. Yeah, there is some mitigation where you can use the netsh command to disable the part of the IPv6 stack that's causing the issue. Yep. Well, you can do that. It seems to be in the DNS. Cool. Oh, and we've got the RCE code, but you guys can't see my screen right now, so it's not going to be very useful for you. Give me 1 second to pull that.
Add it into the broadcast once it comes.
Yeah, I just got to hide all the porn, All right. 1 sec. What the fuck screen is this? Is this screen 3? Screen 2? Oh, there's too many screens up. Let me know what you can see on my screen right now, guys. Whoa! All right, I think that's it. Okay. So, this is the command you can use to disable the vulnerable IPv6 feature and make your system not vulnerable until you can run Windows Update and fix it the right way. But there is, of course, the Bad Neighbor proof of concept code that's now out there that you can play with. It's unfortunately written in Lua because why? Reasons. But you can play with it and you can try and break other machines on your network if you want to. Next, we've got Fin11 hackers jump into the ransomware money-making scheme. Everybody wants money, right? Who wouldn't want money? So Fin11 is a financially motivated hacker group, and they have a history starting since at least 2016, and it's been adapted. They pretty much do like BEC type stuff where they send malicious emails out, and they then try and eventually get ransomware on those computers so they can make some money. Some researchers have now saying that Fin11 targeted victims with malicious emails, distributing a malware downloader that they're calling FriendSpeak. They use a variety of lures, including remittance documents, invoices, fake confidential information, along with some malicious HTML attachments to load content through like iframes and embedded tags. Yep. So essentially, just another group getting in the game of ransomware. They pretty much were previously just doing regular BEC type stuff, but now they're expanding. Mandian did a nice little report on them that you guys can look at if you want. It also talks about how they're also using zero login once they're in there. Everybody uses it now because it is known. And speaking of these kind of groups, network access sold on hacker forums is now estimated at 500,000 just for September of 2020. Those are the number of ads peddled across hacker networks has tripled, with people selling access to systems that they've hacked. That is now a thing. You can pop somebody and then just sell the access. And talk about how they got in through different ways. Some networks sold for tens of thousands of dollars just for access to those networks. Others sold for as little as $25. They've got really detailed ads for the access that they're selling, saying like how many employees there are, how much revenue the company has made, what kind of access they've got.
Oh, type. I was going to ask if this type, like if they just have a user account or if they have an admin or so forth.
Yeah, it shows like they've got RDP access and then they've got a domain user account. This one says they got direct VPN access, right? It's a car rental corporation. You want their access, it's $3,000, and I also tell you what AV the company is using, so you can prepare your tools accordingly. It's surprisingly a lot of information, right, for the bad guys who want access to this shit. You guys remember Finfisher, right? A couple of years ago, a hacker who decided to go by the moniker Phineas Fisher hacked them and released all the code to their tools. Well, now that company has been raided by the German software, by the German police, rather, and they are infamous because they make software like if you want to spy on your spouse, you want to put like a malicious Android app on their phone, and then it looks like a clock or something, and then you can pretty much see wherever they are, or you can access their camera and do all sorts of shit, right? So it's like legal spyware, I guess you'd call it, like usually geared towards spouses and employees.
Yeah, I imagine there's a good market on that. And hell, actually, if you actually own the device they're using, is it illegal to even do that?
No, it's not. If you own it, then yeah, it's your property.
You do have to notify them though if it's something like that. I think you can't just be like recording your you can't just like access the camera from your employee's cell phone whenever you want. It's a little sketch.
Yeah, there is a little gray there, I think, in terms of employers.
So this was part of a criminal complaint filed by the GFF. I don't know what GFF stands for. Next to that, it says Netzpolitik. So I don't know. Reporters Without Borders and the European Center for Constitutional Rights and Human Rights all kind of came together for this lawsuit. In 2015, a permit requirement of exports for finfisher to non-EU countries was introduced across Europe, but even after that, the government did not issue a single export license, yet they continued to sell their software on Turkish websites. And that software was later used to spy on members of Turkish government. So, yeah, man, you sell spy software, people are going to use it to do spy things. That's just how it happens. The German media site was taken down that originally posted last year about this because finfisher sued them and they won the case. They're going to continue updating this article as more information is available, so make sure you check the show notes and look at it and be like, oh, cool, there's shit in there. New shit. A serious cyber attack has hit London Council. Hackney, ironically, Council was hacked, and it affected many of their IT systems and services, as a ransomware attack often does. So members of the council are working closely with the National Cyber Security Center in the UK, and they are trying to resolve what's going on there. A lot of their systems have been affected. It doesn't really say if they've got good backups or not in the article. We were hoping that they do. Yeah, that's pretty much that. There's not much else in there. Linux Bluetooth vulnerability called Zero Click has been found in some IoT shit. So this is yet another protocol vulnerability. This one related to a specific implementation of Bluetooth that's used on a lot of IoT devices. It is a kernel bug. So essentially, you send somebody some crafted input by like a local, yeah. So the flaw, Google's calling this flaw bleeding tooth, right? And it's a zero-click attack because the user doesn't actually have to interact with it at all. It's a specially crafted input by a local unauthenticated attacker, and it could allow for privilege escalation on affected devices. This is not an exploit that you can just use to pop somebody over Bluetooth. You need to already have a shell on the box, and from there you can just kind of do some privilege escalation. It's only a 5.9 CVE score, so it's, Still, another flaw that's out there is called CVE 2020-24490. This one allows for an unauthenticated user to potentially enable a denial of service of adjacent access. I guess that means other devices nearby. The flaw can be exploited by a remote attacker in a short distance who can broadcast extended advertising data and cause a denial of service, or possibly even execute some remote arbitrary code as the kernel on the victim machine if it is equipped with Bluetooth 5 chips that are set into scanning mode, which is neat. I imagine a good use of this is if your neighbor's blasting stuff on their Bluetooth speaker and you kind of want to shut them up. Or you actually want to own the box, but that's a little more difficult, kind of be right there.
That sounds fun.
I've thought about, like something like a Bluetooth jammer for a while, because there are a lot of assholes who just have like those little speakers and they're blasting shit all the time. I haven't really found a way to be able to do that reliably. Could be fun. Next, we've got T2 Exploit Team demos a cable that can automatically hack into a Mac machine. With no user interaction other than plugging in the cable. This is kind of like the shit you see Condor demo when he's doing his demonstrations live for a bunch of people now. for No Before. So essentially, this is a cable that they've made, right? And it looks like a regular charging cable. You just plug it in, but once you plug it in, it looks like a regular USB-C cable, but then it's able to run code on the machine, and the machine will have the screen go black, and that is showing that it is successfully attacked the machine, right? They have a little demo here. Played. It's only 42 seconds long, so hopefully it won't suck. There you go.
Is it like a direct memory access sort of thing?
Yeah. So look, he just plugs it in.
Didn't they have something like this way back in the day with FireWire?
With what?
Didn't they have something like this back in the day with FireWire?
Yeah. It's not so long ago, actually. So yeah, now he's got he's able to SSH into it somehow. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to that. Anyway, it's still cool.
Well, there's
exploits are always fun.
There's actually a legitimate use for be able to get past a T2 chip, and that's doing data recovery, because your bias password is scrambled or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being able to back up a user's data.
Right. Next, we've got another law firm has been hit with some ransomware. This is a international law firm called SafeArth. They have over 900 lawyers in 17 offices in America, Europe, Asia, whole lot of places on the globe. They make over $700 million a year in gross revenue. They had a ransomware incident that occurred on Saturday, and the company described it as a sophisticated and aggressive malware attack. Nobody ever gets owned, and they're like, oh, it was a very simple attack. They had a user click on something they shouldn't have. No, it's always sophisticated and aggressive. The timing is typical for cyber attacks, ransomware in particular. Companies, because they have fewer people working on the weekends, so it's less likely to get noticed. They were hit in multiple places at the same time. I don't know how that happened. If it was like somebody got into one box and then they pivoted to a bunch of other boxes and started encrypting, or if they somehow managed to, from the external, get into multiple entry points. Doesn't really say in the article. My guess is it's probably an attacker got into the network from one place and then pivoted around and gained access privileges on a bunch of other systems, and then decided to start the encryption on all of them at the same time. They talk about now it's not just ransomware, but it's also a theft risk of the data, because they do not just encrypt data anymore. A lot of the times they will exfiltrate it and then try and sell it to the highest bidder, or offer to promise not to release that information if the company gives them even more money. The people behind the Revil ransomware also have an auction site they mentioned in this article, and the GSM law firm that got hacked earlier this year talks about how their data got leaked out because they refused to pay in a timely manner. Yeah. So that's another law firm owned. Another law firm owned.
Well, you realize that trying to do information security for a law firm is like herding cats. I mean, because, there's so many lawyers who demand be able to do stuff and have lousy passwords and don't want to do two-factor. And they're just really lousy at, operational security. And
I don't know what's the objection to two-factor is from a user standpoint. Unless you really don't like some of the employees, which I do have weird hiring practices. But leaving that alone, I've noticed certain people cluster at certain companies, it seems. Anyway, it works really well. You use your phone, you get in. I mean, I don't see the objection to something like Duo. I use it all the time.
It's slower, and you're also relying on another system component, which can break, I guess, is one argument. But I think the big reason why they don't want to is because it's slower. I'm important. Fuck you.
Okay.
No,
It's not that much slower. It's one extra little.
No, but it is slower because you have to then sit there and pull. Yeah.
And it's like, doesn't matter if it's adding a lot of value, it's still an extra step. And our lawyers make $100 an hour. If it takes them an extra 10 minutes to authenticate, it's like there's a lot of money, and it adds up very quickly.
Just remember, every one of those attorneys is a boss, especially if they're partners. So it gets messy. And, I've heard the horror stories from IT and InfoSec people trying to deal with them. They'll go to the main partners and raise hell about it and everything else. But, it's, you just got to beat them over the head and say, yeah.
Sounds a little bit like university professors too. I remember being told about this university professor. He just kind of took some IPs and used them. And when IT came out and said, "Oh, dude, we didn't sign these IPs to you," they basically told him to fuck off.
Really?
Yes. Now, I don't think that would apply at any university I've been to, but this particular one apparently it did.
Well, if they're using the wrong IPs, you just block their MAC addresses at the switch.
I guess he had some kind of political sway where they couldn't do that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's also like say I've seen things where they give the wrong IP range to the company doing like an assessment, like a vuln scan, and then they come back with all these results, and they're not applicable to the company because they scanned the wrong range, and it's not even shit they own. And now you've also possibly knocked somebody else's shit down because you aren't supposed to be scanning that. And it happens.
Well, I've had fun scanning outside the firewall. It is amazing some of the non-ratable addresses that actually show up. I mean, I was pulling information from companies in Georgia and everywhere else, basically using the same 192.168 ranges.
Really? How the hell did that happen from a routing perspective?
Yeah, well, it was. I'm trying to remember who we were using at the time, but yeah,
that's wicked.
I have been on a pen test once where we had the right ranges, but somehow a different company's security cameras were on it. I'm not really sure how that happened.
Well, sometimes like they'll be using a 172 range, and they don't realize not all of the 172 is private, and some of it's public. And
yeah.
So a private network IP, and it's actually a public one.
I've seen it happen before. Back when I worked for another employer, they had we had a client that had a IP range that was either not it was 11 dot something, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And like that, like all of like 11 dot x dot x dot x is DoD space apparently, or at least it was back then. So it was like, oh, but they weren't DoD, but they had something that was what it was. It was their internal network rather than using the 10 range. They were using 11 for some reason. So
because they wanted to crank it up to 11.
Yeah, I guess some net op had some funny idea with that, but I was like, that's stupid, but okay, you do you.
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen net admins even like configure their networks to actually use public IP addresses rather than a private range, and cause all sorts of routing issues.
Now, yeah, a lot of universities still have publicly routed IP addresses on the end user host.
Yeah, they
got in on the land grab.
Every computer on the network has a public IP. Everything is accessible from the internet, and I'm like, that's a horrible idea. Not that shit. It did make it more fun when I figured out how to use the net support program that the teachers used to take control of the students' computers. But if you grab the tech support console, you could literally just control anybody's computer on the network. And since they all had public IP addresses, you didn't even have to be in school to access any school computer. Fun shit. Yeah. All right, back to the show notes. So next we've got, remember that the Twitter hack a few weeks ago with the teenager, and they managed to get access to a whole bunch of high-profile Twitter accounts, and then they got sent to jail, and then during their own hearing, somebody Zoom bombed the hearing, and the judge kind of lost patience, and he was like, screw this, and he just kind of postponed it. Well, because of all that crap that happened, now some people are calling for different cybersecurity rules for social media giants. The New York State Department of Financial Services has ended with a stinging rebuke for how easily Twitter let itself get duped by a simple social engineering technique. And in their report, they point out, by way of contrasting examples, how you could how quickly regulated cryptocurrency companies acted to prevent these same Twitter hackers from scamming even more people, arguing that it demonstrates that tech innovation and regulation are not necessarily mutually exclusive. Its point is that the biggest social media platforms have huge societal power. And with that, there is an associated risk for consumers. And there is no regulation going on here to protect these users. The report concludes that there is a problem that U.S. lawmakers need to get involved in and start tackling, that being creating some oversight and rules that apply to social media companies in terms of the security that is placed on accounts.
Now, if you could take over anybody's Twitter account, who would it be?
Yours, man.
Oh, shit.
I put myself at the top of the list every week.
I forgot to do one last week.
I know. I was like, what the hell, man? People are retweeting one from a week ago.
I would probably take over Jax and apologize for making Twitter.
No.
I take over Obama's and say he's voting for Trump or something.
Oh, that would cause some chaos. That'd be hilarious.
I'm all about the chaos.
I like that Al Qaeda actually endorsed Trump. I think that's hilarious.
Huh? Okay.
Actually, if you mentioned that, and I'm thinking, why not take over like Biden's or Kamala's, and start talking about all the black men they've incarcerated over the years.
That might be a good
And yeah, I was like, oh boy, air some dirty fucking laundry.
It will get to me as a funny picture because I've some people who I've now have blocked, because we're talking far left to the level of like Antifa types, and they're tweeting about how Kamala's a cop and that Kamala would be no better from their perspective than Trump. So like the far left people generally get it, but I don't know if people just haven't researched her, and I don't know if people just didn't watch Tulsi Gabbard's takedown of her. I just don't understand. She seemed like a bad choice. Maybe Klobuchar instead or something, but anyway, neither here nor there.
It's look, some people just like sowing chaos, and I get that, but like, you were going to take over all these accounts. The worst use of it would just to make a few bucks in crypto. I mean, you could do so many things if you have access to all these accounts that, like, whether it be for good or bad or just for the lulls, it's like a lot more shit you could do than make a few bucks on crypto.
You can hack Trump's account, make some kind of catastrophic thing, say something terrible is going to happen, it's going to hurt the economy.
But that wouldn't do anything because he says stupid shit all the time.
Well, yeah, if you make it right, though, it's like we just found out that nukes are coming or something like that.
Or like declare war on China.
Yeah, something like that, and people sell for stocks. You buy up at cheap, and then
short the stock. Yeah, I get it. It's interesting. I wonder.
I mean, you just talk about money. You could just do it with Elon Musk, because I mean, yeah, that dude speaking alone causes the price to fluctuate greatly.
well, the problem is he also tweets shit that causes his own stock to crash.
Exactly my point.
Yeah,
You could say something big and boom,
about-
stock price goes up.
All right, guys, I'm going to demo my tool now that I got it working.
Hey, that might get me deplatformed. Demo your tool for girlfriend.
All right, hold on. Share screen again. Share screen 3. All right, let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Thanks, young grump.
Can you see my screen?
I need to add it. There we go.
All right. So the tool I'm going to be using today is called.
I think this is going out. I think this is going out 720p, and even at that, that's going to be awfully small for people to read. That's not the kind of size different. You have font size.
All right, give me a sec. I'm gonna figure out how to make fonts bigger and putty. You may not do it off the top of your hand.
Not exactly off the top of my head. I know it. I'm pretty sure it can be done. I think I did it in the past, but I haven't telnetted from a Windows box in quite some time.
Oh, god damn it. All right, give me a minute.
Isn't there a zoom function or something like that?
I wonder if you can just zoom. Make text bigger.
Not something like Control plus plus or something.
Change settings. Terminal. Behaviors. Colors section. I've never had to fuck with this in Putty before, so I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, font settings. Change it. Size 10. Let's make it size 20. See if that does anything. All right.
That's a lot better.
It's better.
You have to adjust your window though a little bit though.
Okay, give me a sec.
I would make it a 28.
All right. Can you guys see the window now?
I can read it at least, but
I can read it, but I'm on a computer monitor, but somebody with a smaller screen may not see it.
Okay.
I'd make it a size 28 and just
one more time. Behavior. Where the fuck was that? All right. Let's make it. I make it size 28. That should be big enough for everyone to see. All right. Can you guys see now?
Yeah, that's much better.
All right. Okay. So this tool is called GHunt, right? And I pulled it down from GitHub, and I tried to install it the normal way. Unfortunately, I had some dependency issues, so I just used the Docker version. Right. So this is GHunt right here. It is a tool for doing open source intelligence on Google accounts, and it can give you some useful information about your target. You can get the person's name, last time profile was edited, Google ID, if they are a Hangout spot, public photos, the phone model, if they've got a phone associated with their account, along with the firmware version sometimes, along with sometimes installed software, any reviews they left on Google Maps, and most importantly, probably possible physical location. All right. Do I have a guinea pig who wants to be have their account shown live? So he's got a Google account.
not really. I don't know.
Nope, no guinea pigs. All right. So I'm going to use one of my Google accounts. Right. Me. I'm not a hangout spot. Shows that I've got a YouTube channel associated with me. Shows my Google photos that I don't have on there. I haven't left any Google Maps reviews. And obviously couldn't tell my location because that account is pretty much just one I hardly ever use. Also, I've noticed it does tend to work with some places that are f at farmingdale.edu hosted by Google, right? So you can get some information about an account that is hosted by Google. And look, it shows a Google Photos thing that's associated. Google Maps reviews that I left. I didn't leave any. But if I had left any, that's where they'd be. So it can pull up pretty much anybody who hosts their shit on Google stuff. Isn't there an Irongeek _ABC at gmail.com?
No, there is an Irongeek at gmail.com, though. ABC is only there because someone else had already got an Irongeek on Twitter.
So I can see that you use News 360, YouTube, Hangouts, Photos, and Maps. All those are activated. I got your Google ID, which I don't know what the hell I do with it, but I got it, right? There are some photos that you might have uploaded. It thinks you're in New Albany, which maybe you are. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is extremely high confident that you're in New Albany.
I think a lot of people already know that because I already told them that.
Well, all right. And look, you left 7 reviews on Google Maps, so you can go and see what the fuck those are.
Google Map reviews? What? Huh? Is that reviews about me, or is that and where I'm at the map? Or things I've reviews about?
We'll see in a sec. All right. Campbell Woodlands Nature Trail, not bad, but too short. Someone said not made for the handicapped, but really, what trail really is? At least it is paved most of the way. Another nature trail. So we know Adrian likes nature trails.
Nature trail the hell in 3D.
Neat trail for the New Albany history. You can learn along the way. LARPing. Yeah, so that's pretty neat, man. I can see where Adrian's been. All right. So it's a cool little tool. You know, it's OSINT shit. It's fun. Look, if you're good at OSINT, like our friend Will is, well, I can't say our friend, your friend Will. Yeah, you'd be really good at it with this. No, that's not accurate. There are better tools out there to do this kind of shit. Like you have Maltego, which is really cool for putting stuff on a graph and showing connections between things, and a lot of connectors that are built in for it. And then there's Recon NG, which you can find a lot of cool stuff about people with. There are lots of tools out there. Yeah, man. So look at the Irongeek. Do we know anybody high profile who has a Gmail account that we can just look shit into?
How about the Scotty Kilmer channel? The Scotty Kilmer at gmail.com.
All right, how do you do it? Spell it? SCOTTY Kilmer?
KILMER. He's moving, so you know he's actually moving to Tennessee. Hold on.
So he's got one Google Map review. He thinks he's in Houston.
He's in Houston.
Yeah. It's very low confidence on that, but it thinks that's where he is. And you got a review he left for Google Maps that you can check out publicly. Let's see what the heck that is. Let's go here. Best barbecue in H-Town, period. So if we were trying to social engineer Mr. Scotty Kilmer, we would call him up and be like, hi, this is John from Book Street Barbecue. We've got a 25% off coupon. All we need to do is get your name, number. While you're at on it, give us your social security number. We need that too. So that's the tool. It's silly, but I like it. It's cute.
Well, he's a YouTuber that's a auto mechanic that has millions of views, and he's an e-celeb. So that's
he's one of those e-celebs.
Yeah, he's an e-celeb.
Yeah,
and he is in Houston, and you can look up you can look up where he lives.
Yeah, look, it's got his YouTube channel right there. You can go and check it out and be like, okay, well, this is Scotty's YouTube channel. And we take that and we pop it in a browser, and we look at it. And there's his YouTube channel. Look, it's not a groundbreaking script that's going to give you earth-shattering things you don't know about somebody, but it's still kind of cool to play with. There is a little bit of setup involved with it. After you install it, you need to go and log into your Google account or any Google account and grab 4 different cookie values, and then just paste them into the script. And once the script has those cookies, it is essentially using your account to search for the other account for stuff that's not necessarily going to be publicly findable without being logged into a Google account.
So basically, you have to have an API.
Correct. But I was trying to put it in a way that people who don't know what an API is might understand. Right.
Unlike a tool like Twint, which doesn't require any logins at all, you just Twint, and unless the account is locked or something like that, you can look up past tweets all over the place, 3,200 at a time.
I haven't heard of that tool, but that sounds pretty cool.
TWINT.
Twint, eh? I'll check that out. Yes.
I've used it extensively.
Yeah. A lot of people, when they get more notoriety, they seem to go back and delete tweets and things that they've put out in the past that might not be looked so favorably.
Well, I've noticed a trend of this. If someone formerly was not so woke, but all of a sudden got woke, let's say they started dating someone who was woke, and so they became woke.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed a lot of those motherfuckers delete tweets. There's a communist I know who deletes all his tweets. Seems like every so often. There's a manager at the biggest hacker con who deletes her tweets all the time. Shit. Yeah, those people who do that kind of shit. Also, I think it's funny when they get woke and they delete stuff like a group sex happening at a DEF CON pool. That wasn't the person from DEF CON. That was another person entirely.
Well, you can delete your entire Twitter history, but you can't delete old likes. And I've tried running scripts and everything, and Twitter has always shut me down from likes. That's the one weakness. But I've delete my Twitter history all the time, and Facebook. It doesn't really have that much value to me. I might leave a little bit of stuff up, but I'm not. Why do I need it?
Right. So I just found Marcus Hutchins' old Gmail account. Let's see what comes up with that.
Okay.
Nothing. Aw, stupid OSINT. All right.
Now, it used to be...
it looks like you had a YouTube channel.
Yeah. It used to be they had if you had a Google account, it would all your personal information would be in Google Plus, and you could look up phone numbers, name, address.
Yeah, a lot of my Google Plus stuff went away. I had an argument with an old professor. He was saying some asinine shit, and my side of the argument disappeared, so I have no context. It's not like I can remember, even though I try, everything that's written on social media.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, if it's in Twitter, they can delete, all that stuff. I mean, unless it's archived.
Anybody find it funny that this is the shit that's on his YouTube channel? iStealer 4.04, Hotmail Cracker 1.3, and hacking a computer with, I don't even know what that is, Prior Rat tutorial. That's great. Anyway. So yeah, that's my demo of the week. I thought it was cool.
It made my nipples hard.
What?
It made my nipples hard.
Well, that's not very hard, Adrian.
How would you know?
Well, if you want to in
You
the
remember our
future,
night together, Adrian?
Okay.
if you wanted to in the future demo Twint, it's pretty easy.
Twint, Twint.
That's right. I mean, it's a sudo apt install.
Let's demo Twint. Let's see how hard it is to use. All right. Grab it down. Git clone.
Does Twin allow you to like suck down all of someone's tweets?
All that's available,
Okay.
even if they block you.
I made a suggestion that you know someone who just started dating a woke person, download all their tweets so you can show them later. Though since it won't look right in text, I guess that doesn't help. I guess the best thing, which was we had to archive it to a third-party site that people trust. All these people who post screenshots as proof that something happened, I'm like, it's so easy to create fakes. So that's not a really good form of proof.
Let me see if I can find the.
Do like a pip3 install -r requirements.txt.
There's actually a set of instructions for it. I'm looking for the website right now.
I'm on their GitHub page. I'm looking at it. So I'm pulling the instructions from. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's that hard to install. Quick-u username scrapes all data from user's timeline. That doesn't look too hard to do. Oh, it's got a little Elasticsearch database built in. That's kind of cool.
You can put it in CSVs, Elasticsearch, whatever. So you would get to GitHub Twint project twint.git, and then you would clone it, and then you would do a pip3 install or something like that.
Okay.
I actually got instructions.
Install, right? And then we got all this shit. There's a module example where you can import it. Okay. Sorting options, graph, visualizations.
See if I can put it in the. Let's see. There's that.
Now, where's the actual executable called Twint? Okay. There ain't no Twint into Twint folder.
So I'm just downloading the.
All right. Clone it. Go into the directory and run the requirements.txt. We did that.
I'm putting the instructions in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's an actual Twint executable. There's a Python script, maybe? I don't know. Oh, I could just do it from pip. Pip3 install Twint. There we go. Oh, it's not in the path. Successfully built Twint. Collected packages. Okay. Local. Very local. Twint-u. What? Give me a username. Irongeek ADC, right?
Yep. _ ADC.
No data. Expecting value. Line 1. Char. Sleeping for 15 seconds. Oh, this is a great tool. Doesn't do shit.
Hold on.
I'm gonna give it some rights and see if that does anything. Nope, doesn't do shit. All right, you know what? You know how to use this tool. Why don't you demo it?
How about -- limit 100? It should be twint, not ./twint.
Oh, I don't have this folder sourced in my environmental variables under my home, so I would have to export path. What's my current path? It should be there. Anyway. Print-U Irongeek ADC limit 100.
-U space, yeah.
It doesn't want to run. It's probably just something with my environment, but yeah, we shouldn't debug during the cast. I'll just work out the kinks during the week, and we'll show it to them next week. Get more shit to show in the show notes anyway.
It works very well.
Does it?
It does.
Share your screen and show it then.
I'm not running a terminal on that right now. I have to pull up my Ubuntu servers. So that means I have to start up VMware Workstation, which let's see if I might have to relicense it.
Today's Iron Geek podcast is brought to you by imperfectfoods.com. Don't let that food go to waste.
I'm sitting here playing a bricks and balls game, and unfortunately it has advertisements to get bonuses. I'm not sure why I'm addicted to this freaking game, seeing as how I have
to playing with your balls. I mean, who would
just roll them around.
Roll them around, up and down. All right. Next, we got a phishing scam, right? So, phishing scam, the new hotspots for fraud gangs. So, while BEC groups used to operate from just a few locations, gangs are now springing up all over the place. BEC or phishing groups are very common kind of cybercrime. New fraud gangs are appearing across the globe. And okay. All right, I am still showing my screen.
I've been getting a lot of one that says something like, "Do you live in the ban?" And apparently that's some town in South Africa. But then if you respond to it, it asks you. So it talks about her husband cheated on her. She wants to get back at him, and it's trying to get you to go to some what I assume is a porn site.
Oh. Thank you for that. So, Agari is a company, and they monitor this kind of shit. And they're saying that they have identified BEC attacks originating from 50 countries around the world, and identified that South Africa and the UK are the highest ranking regions for BEC activity. The research also identifies Eastern Europe and Russia as a region with a growing number of BEC scammers, traditionally home to Trojan malware and ransomware groups. The emergence of business email compromise groups in the region suggests the cyber threat landscape could be changing as corporate phishing scams are becoming more and more lucrative. Now, you'd think with all the kind of shit we've got nowadays to monitor your email and filter it and look through it and make sure there's nothing bad in it before you open it, that these things wouldn't be so popular and growing in popularity, but that does not seem to be the case. It seems that they're very profitable, and you get a few people to fall for shit, and you can make a lot of money. It used to be that romance scams were the really big thing, right? Where you get somebody to lead somebody on for a little bit, make them think, oh, I'm an American, but I'm working in Africa, and I love you, and I want to marry you, but my wallet was stolen, and my passport's gone, and I need money to get home, and just send me money type kind of shit, right?
Those are still popular, but they're mostly done from Russia now. Russia and the former Soviet Union, rather than Africa.
Right. But so there was a talk I saw where a bunch of women who had fallen for romance scams all got together and they told their stories, and it was really heartbreaking because a lot of these women, they were one of them was a widow, and she thought was trying to get back in the dating game, and like she was really taken by this guy. He had really nice pictures of himself. He was like square jaw, very good looking guy.
How old were these women?
Usually in their 30s or 40s.
Oh, okay. I was thinking even older.
And she fell for this dude, and like it turned out not to even be his pictures, obviously, but also the guy wasn't even in the US, and they had like an affair kind of going on for not affair, but like they had a relationship going on for months, talking like every day for hours, and then he took her for fucking everything she was worth. It started off with like I think 10 grand, and then it was 100 grand, and then before you knew it, she sent him like she mortgaged her house and like sent them everything.
I just don't understand how people fall for that kind of stupid shit.
And people want to see the best in other people, unfortunately, and they fall for stupid shit. Yeah, man. So that's that article and my commenting on
Were
it.
the women? Let me put it this way: instead of me asking their age, let me be more blunt. Were the women attractive or not?
The talk I saw, the one woman who actually did pretty much leverage her house and spend all her money was actually fairly attractive. She was not like a dog. I mean, she wasn't like a supermodel either, but she was a moderately attractive older lady in like her mid-40s. Like she could have gone into the dating scene and found a local guy who would been very happy to have her, but she decided to go on the internet and she fell for this scammer who was actually a Nigerian, I think, and like he got her to send fucking everything after talking to her for months. Next, Microsoft has decided to patch the ping of death, the Redux, the redo Redux. So this was, of course, the thing we talked about a little earlier. Ipv6 vulnerability. Essentially, it'll let you kill a machine with IPv6 pings. They got a proof of concept for it in the video. I'm not going to play it because it's long. There's a blog article from Sophos talking about it, and it's fairly easy to mitigate against. So you should do that. Next, we've also got, what year is it? Another critical Flash player vulnerability. Who the hell's still using Flash player?
For a few things I am, but mostly small stuff that's just so old, it's not going to be used anymore. It's just, there's no replacements for it. But nothing serious.
Newgrounds and a bunch of shitty look apps. But like, who the hell's still using Flash? Let it die. It wants to die.
Yeah.
Some of my first videos I ever put up online were actually done in Flash and directly hosted on my website. That was before YouTube became real popular.
Yeah. So this is a null pointer dereference error, and it plagues the Windows, Mac, Linux, and Chrome versions of Flash Player. So it affects a lot of different versions of Flash. Yeah, it can also be exploited through an ActiveX control, which is a feature in Remote Desktop Protocol. No pointer reference, yada, yada, yada. Technical jargon nobody cares about. All right. So in other words, just don't use Flash. Don't use it. It's bad. Instead, Let it die. That's all we have to say about that. Next, we've got Lemon Duck cryptocurrency mining botnet activity spikes. So, if you've got yourself a botnet, there's lots of different things you can do with it. You can denial of service somebody and knock their crap offline. You can, I don't know, mine some cryptocurrency. I don't know why you'd mine cryptocurrency with it. Most of the bots are probably not very powerful, but could be useful. So researchers warn of a spike in the cryptocurrency mining botnet since August of 2020. It is doing C2 over DNS requests, which is kind of hard to see if you are not somebody who has insight into the DNS queries going on your network. So it can be kind of hard to find. Cisco Talos has identified activity associated with this malware in affecting 3 different companies in the government, retail, and technology sectors. And it's been going on from March 2020 to present. They are using COVID-19 lures in emails to victims to get them to click on and install things. It's taking advantage of the RDP Bluekeep flaw, which was patched in 2019. It's also targeting Redis, which is like an in-memory data store database type thing.
Caching is, I believe.
What?
I think it's a caching server, isn't it?
According to the description here, it's an open source in-memory data structure store used as a database, cache, and messaging broker.
Okay, it's an MQ. Okay.
And there's also Yarn Hadoop. They're targeting stuff with. Well, they're targeting systems with vulnerable versions of Yarn Hadoop. Yarn is actually pretty powerful in and of itself. I haven't tried Yarn Hadoop. Yeah, so it just goes. It's C2 over HTTP as well. It's modular. It can pull down different stuff. And it's got plugins for different graphics cards, including the GeForces and the AMDs and the Radeons. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess they can take advantage of the GPU, mine some cryptocurrency better that way. They even got a Linux branch going on, so they can take advantage of Linux machines that they managed to infect. So, yeah. Well-designed and thought-out botnet used for cryptocurrency. And it's a thing. There are a bunch of them. At least it's not taking over Docker containers, because that's just stupid for cryptocurrency. The next article is going to be about Cory Doctorow's brother. You don't know who Cory was. I don't think he's around anymore. I think he's dead. Anyway, he was
Dead?
I think he's dead. He might not be. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him in years.
Well, last time I had any kind of communication, he broke his remote luggage, and I was trying to get the lock from him. The TSA or somebody screwed up his luggage.
Oh. So anyway, his little brother is writing some sci-fi geared towards teen hacktivists.
Oh, yeah. Cory Doctor had a book out a while back that was similar in nature. What was Cory Doctorow's book? Does anybody remember?
Little brother?
Yeah. I ended up listening to the audiobook version of that, and my first take on this, it's like, it wasn't badly written, but it was very much reminds me of like Ayn Rand, but the opposite political spectrum, or Robert A. Heinlein, who was a much better writer. So many of the characters were just there to expound on, what's the term? To express his political viewpoint. And that's all they existed for. But
right.
Go on.
It was a vehicle for his political ideology. It was like a way of packaging it and selling it.
It looks like he's still alive because Wikipedia doesn't have a death notice.
Yeah, I guess
Wikipedia is usually on that. I mean,
yeah, he's probably alive. I don't know. I just hadn't heard anything from him in years. I assumed he was dead. So anyway, his brother is writing some books now. They are, like I said, geared towards hacktivists, and the article goes into a little bit about what one of the books is about, and I don't really care, so I'm not going to read it. But if you are interested, give it a check out and look at it and read it and support his brother for being related to him. It's a good reason to support somebody. I think I already covered Fin11 Cybercrime Gang. If not, I want to do it very quickly again. So they're now doing the double extortion ransomware, where it's not just if you pay us, but we also got your data, and if you don't pay us, we're going to release your data. And they're doing that now too. Everybody's doing it. It's the new thing. It's like the Monster Mash. I hear it's a graveyard smash. We used to have a section in our show notes where we go over one by one all things in the latest Patch Tuesday, or if not that, at least all the kind of like a review of all the bugs and shit that were found in the past week. We're not going to do that anymore, but we do have this one article which is about Microsoft patching some really important shit this past Patch Tuesday, which if you don't know, the wormable RCE bug was patched, and I don't know how it would be wormable, but they're patching shit. And if you are not running your Windows updates, you should be running your Windows updates, because this last Patch Tuesday included fixes for some Microsoft Windows, some Office, web apps, Azure shit, open source software exchange, Visual Studio.net, Microsoft Dynamics, code library. Essentially, there's 75 updates in this past update that are all marked as important. By being marked as important, that means that they've got a fairly high need to be patched, and 11 of those are actually considered critical. And things that are considered critical, you should always patch as soon as you can. And these critical bugs is the IPv6 router announcement thing, essentially executing arbitrary code with elevated privileges via an ICMP router advertisement. Talked about that a little earlier. Some of these are like 9.8, some of them are 10s on the CVSS scale. All important things that should be fixed. There's also some we covered that one. There's an Office thing that's pretty necessary to be patched. It's an Outlook. It's CVE 2020-16947 that essentially would allow an email that is crafted by a target using the preview pane as an attacker to execute some code. I'm pretty sure that's one of Relic's tricks that he's been using forever. I guess they finally patched it. Good for them. But yeah, there was a way if they've got the preview pane open when they open Outlook, you can run some code via some. I think it was like a cross-site scripting thing going on. I don't remember, but there's a way to do it, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Kennedy has done some demos on how to do that as well. So there's that. There's also a Hyper-V RCE bug for all you people who are too lazy to use real hypervisors and rely on that bullshit built into Windows. So you should patch that as well. And there's an issue with the Microsoft Windows camera codec. That's only 7.8, but still can result in a write past the end of an allocated buffer. In other words, executing code. SharePoint vulnerabilities were patched. I always want to make sure you're up to date with your SharePoint patches, especially that shit's in the cloud, because you leave that unpatched, it's going to get pwned. And then we've got some other bugs, some RCE issues in Media Foundation library, and a base 3D rendering engine, graphical components, some GDI shit. So yeah, they patched a lot of bugs. A lot of them are security bugs. You should definitely run your October Windows update patches. Unlike Frank, whose computer is yelling at him to reboot so that it can install patches, and he keeps saying, no, tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. Thoughts, comments. I'm not checking the YouTube stream right now. Maybe I should and see if anybody is saying anything. The Irongeek cast, and that's not how you spell that, but it will still lead me there. All right, and Hacker Boogaloo. That's an old one. Is that Amanda Berlin?
Yeah, and I accidentally used that name more than once.
All right. Okay. Is that Amanda? Whoa.
Yeah, she was on an early episode for a bit.
Barry. All right, so
Still followed me.
I still have so many of those people. Right, not really anything in there. Good. All right, I'll move on with the show notes then. So next we've got some Iranian hackers are screwing around with some U.S. universities again because school year's beginning. It's a good reason. So these attacks are timed to coincide with the start of the new academic year, when both students and university staff are expected to be active on university portals. These attacks also kind of emulate and pretend to be university portals, so that makes sense. According to U.S. indictments, hackers gained access to university portals from where they stole intellectual property or limited release academic work, which they later resold on their own web portals. However, despite the indictment, hackers remain at large in Iran and have mounted subsequent attacks. This campaign is different. Malwarebytes, I didn't know they did research. I thought they just made a shitty antivirus program. Said that this time around, Silent Librarian hosted some of its phishing sites on Iranian servers. It seems odd for an attacker to use infrastructure in their own country, probably pointing a finger at them. However, simply becomes another bulletproof hosting option based on the lack of cooperation between U.S. and European law enforcement and local police in Iran. So what they're saying is normally if you're going to be setting up some infrastructure in the cloud, you would not do it in the actual country that you live in. However, due to politics and the fact that they're phishing people in the U.S., it makes sense for them to just do it in their own country.
Yeah, I've heard of some malware in the past would look at the keyboard layout to decide the country it was in, and it was in the country that it came from. It was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that because they have, a good extradition.
There's more that will check for the keyboard layout, and if it sees that it's Cyrillic or Russian, it will stop execution completely because it's Russian people and they don't want to be
extradited
in their own country. Like if they.
No, be. Yeah, you're right. That wouldn't be extradition.
Yeah,
it would.
I've seen a lot of that where malware and scammers, which will target if they see people from like their own country, they won't proceed because they don't want to harm their fellow countrymen, so to speak.
I think it's more like they don't want to.
It's more of a legal thing. It's like, look, if you screw people in another country and your country's not going to extradite you, it's great.
Well, that too.
You can screw with them, and if you screw people in your own country, the cops might come after you.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be amongst criminal hackers or ones that. Well, I wouldn't even say criminal hackers. There's some politically based hackers. Most aren't doing it for patriotic reasons. I mean, except for the Chinese. My understanding, the Chinese would do it over national pride. By the way, is the Joker still around?
You mean the movie?
No, the guy used to hack. Who all did he hack? The Taliban or something?
The one with the 3 in his name?
Yes.
Yeah, he's still around.
Okay. I haven't seen any tweets of him in a while. Not that I followed him, but I figured someone would retweet him into my timeline eventually.
Next, we've got malware gangs love open source offensive hacking tools. Of course they do. It does all the work for them. It's like you can just take a tool somebody wrote, and like Mimikatz, for example, and dump it into your code, and now you can extract passwords from memory. Why wouldn't you want to use a tool somebody else wrote? This article is kind of a cop out, but it's like, yeah. So bad guys, people who are doing malicious things with this kind of code, they like to use open source code and use it in their stuff because all the work has been done for them. It's maybe designed to be a pen testing tool, but if you are a bad actor, you don't give a shit about the pen testing stuff. You do care that the tool can do the job you want it to do, and it works very easily. And that's why they use the same tools as pen testers. And it's, I don't know, it's really not that much of a thing. Talked about how there's a guy, Paul Litvak, and he's a security researcher at Intezer Labs, and he tried to address this earlier at a talk at Virus Bulletin Security Conference, which I've never heard of that conference. Adrian certainly doesn't record there.
Yeah.
And he compiled data on 129 open source hacking tools and searched through malware samples to see if they were using the code from them, and they were. Because programmers are lazy, right? You can't find how to do it. You just go on Stack Overflow and you figure it out and paste it in there. All right, so they're using Empire, Powersploit. Those are the big ones. Of course, there's reflective DLL injection. That is a lot easier if it's already been written for you. Yeah. Like, this is open source shit, right? So another thing I like that bad guys are doing is they take tools that are designed for pen testers and cost a lot of money, like Cobalt Strike, and then they will crack them and then just use those tools. Because why pay for something if you can crack it? I don't know. I don't think Raphael Mudge is chasing down these groups that are all using Cobalt Strike for C2. He spent a lot of time building up those malleable C2 profiles, so he's probably not happy about so many hacker groups just using his code. Bitcoin wallet update trick has netted criminals more than $22 million in U.S. currency. So, Electrum is a wallet app. And some cybercrime gangs have been able to get about $22 million in funds from people who use the Electrum app by sending fake updates for the app and stealing their wallet info. The Electrum Bitcoin wallet app received an unexpected update via a pop-up message. They update their wallet, and all of a sudden the funds get stolen and transferred to an attacker's account. It's not a bug, it's a feature. So apparently the attacker uses fake Electrum servers to push out updates directly through pop-ups in older Electrum versions, which results in the malware being installed that then sends Bitcoins to the attacker's address. The Electrum team were warned about allowing pop-ups by the Bitcoin core team, but decided to ignore them, and users lost millions as a result. Evil. I like a new take on the fake update trick, right? Like, you be browsing the web and you see like, oh, your Adobe Reader is out of date. You need to update it, and people will just click, oh, I click yes, and it installs some malware from some random pop-up site. But this is like they actually took over the freaking update server, so that's pretty wicked. That's not good. Ransomware operators now outsource network access exploits to speed up attacks. So earlier we saw an article where people were selling auctioned access to different companies that have been hacked, right? And this kind of goes a little bit with that. There's a cyber threat intelligence team from a company called Accenture, and they released some research on emerging cybersecurity trends, including investigation into the nature between ransomware operations and exploit sellers. During attacks, ransomware operators must find an entry point into a network, compromised employee accounts, misconfigurations in public-facing systems, vulnerable endpoint, leading to the encryption of files, disks, and demand for payment in return for a decryption key. Paying a ransom these days can reach 6 figures, and it can be very profitable for the bad guys to do this. So network access sellers typically develop an initial vulnerability and then sell their work in underground forums from anywhere from $300 to $10,000. Since the start of 2020, the emergence of the now popularized ransomware with data theft and extortion tactic, ransomware gangs have successfully utilized dark web platforms to outsource complicated aspects of network compromise. So essentially, the cracking the perimeter part of the OS. No, that would just be CTP. Anyway, cracking the perimeter section of offensive securities framework, just getting the initial foothold into the network, right? That part of this is all being outsourced. So they will just buy access now for other people who hacked it, which, look, it's certainly going to make threat attribution even more interesting, right? So you get some Chinese people who hack the initial thing, and then you get some Russians who come in there and they install their malware and sell. It's like, who is the bad guy then? Yeah, that's the article essentially. The bad guys are selling access to shit. Bad guys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when the bad guys come for you? Those are not the words. All right, next we already did the demo of the tool, so we don't have to do the demo again. So we will jump forward into politics. Their new section of our podcast where we all will argue and start hating each other and then stop doing the podcast because we talked about politics with one another.
One thing I'd like to mention, the Houston Security Conference is going to start on October 23rd as they call it the Air Gapped Edition. The only problem I have with the website is it's not HTTPS. And they say, just click on the link below and save the date. They want you to download a calendar file from a non-encrypted website. I don't know why.
Because they're too lazy to toss up a cert. Look, now that Let's Encrypt is a thing, there's no excuse just to be running a site off HTTP anymore. It literally takes you less than 15 minutes to set up CertBot and get yourself a cert. And a lot of the website management tools now have the ability to grab a cert built in for free. It doesn't cost you anything more.
Yeah, DreamHost does that. They have their own system for getting those certs. So yeah, it's not really a big problem.
Even cPanel now can pull down Let's Encrypt certs for you without much extra configuration. It's like built in. So there's really no excuse at this point.
Right.
Well, and anyway, it's a technology conference. I mean, of course they should have a freaking cert.
I don't know what they're thinking, but it's Houston.
We're now publicly shaming you, Houston, whatever you are.
Houston Security Conference, which you can look, Housacon.
Dear Housacon, you are now being publicly shamed on the Irongeek podcast. Go get yourself a cert.
But you can look up the conference platform and all the other fun stuff. But
I could also make fun of the fact that Jason Street's site doesn't have a cert. I called him on that, and he told me that it's on purpose so that he can use it for network monitoring stuff. Like he can look at everything that's going on. I call bullshit though.
Yeah, you can always get your own. You can always get the key off of there, and do real-time decryption. That's totally possible.
My site has a cert, but I gotta admit most of the links are HTTP.
Yeah, my business website has HTTPS, but it doesn't matter because I don't do any actual e-commerce on there. It's just static HTML pages. So, yeah. I did it because I use cPanel management. It's free, so fuck it.
Yeah. All right, politics. Chinese president.
King?
Yeah, that guy tells troops
to
focus on preparing for war. So, Chinese president has called on troops to put all their minds and energy on preparing for war in a visit to a military base in the southern province of Guangdong. Guangdong.
Guangdong. You have a long dong?
Love you, long time. According to state news agency Xinhua, during an inspection of the People's Liberation Army Marine Corps in Chazhou City, Xinhua said Xi told the soldiers to maintain a state of high alert and called on them to be absolutely loyal, absolutely pure, and absolutely reliable. The main purpose of his visit was to deliver a speech on Wednesday commemorating the 40th anniversary of the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone, which is where you get all your cheap electronics from, and was established in 1980 to attract foreign capital and played a vital role in helping China's economy become the second largest in the world. The military visit comes as tensions between China and the U.S. remain at their highest points in decades, with disagreements over Taiwan and the coronavirus pandemic creating sharp divisions between Washington and Beijing. The White House notified Congress Monday that it's planning to move ahead with the sale of 3 advanced weapon systems to Taiwan, according to congressional aides, including the Advanced High Mobility Artillery Rocket System. In a stern response from Beijing, Foreign Minister spokesman Zhao Lijian called on Washington to immediately cancel any arms sales planned to Taiwan and cut all U.S.-Taiwan military ties.
They'll fuck themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, free Taiwan, motherfucker.
Well, I mean, I've been following this stuff extensively. I mean, China is ready to start World War III. I mean, literally, they're ready to start a war with Japan, China, India. I mean, yeah.
Okay, there's a possibility to them. I have an Indian friend on Twitter who, how do you put it this way? He's very nationalistic about India, and yeah, he has this. I think he has one of his avatars. It's like one avatar, the banners is like one of the Hindu gods fighting a dragon.
Well, I mean, it's not just. I mean, they want to attack Australia. Of course, Taiwan. I mean, they're claiming parts of Tajikistan. I mean, Xi Jinping, the Winnie the Pooh, even made claims on Vladivostok in Russia, which really pissed off.
Ooh, yeah, that's a bad move there, buddy.
That's like way too many people to try to fight at once.
I mean, they're threatening to go to war with everybody. They're nuts. He's a nut job. He is trying to cling on to power because, he's putting all his opponents in jail. There's, there are people fleeing. It's getting bad.
Well, he's getting really roasted on the world stage because of some of the the horrible conditions in China. For example, the a lot of the old things like the human rights abuses, like the Uyghurs, have been known, but lately they've become front and center. You know, again, pointing back to Disney when Disney thanked one of the what was it? I guess administrative sectors there, which was also overseeing the Uyghur concentration camps, and that's literally what they are. They're fucking concentration camps, you know, of World War II style concentration camps, they're getting roasted, and that's
it's not just that. It's the National Basketball Association, which had a training facility out there in that same state where the Uyghurs are.
Yeah,
and the Uyghurs haven't been doing anything.
They've been peaceful so far about it because, you know, they know that it's not something they can fight. They don't have any arms to fight with, so it's and China has information warfare down to a fucking science within their borders.
Well, China is actually starting to occupy parts of Nepal, and although the Nepalese government is communist, Tajikistan is in such a debt trap that China is trying to claim 45% of their country.
Oh, by the way, just quickly answer this question for a viewer, generation. I haven't really heard about it.
What's the question?
It's on the screen.
I'm away from my computer. What's that?
Does anybody heard about the NSA and CIA leaked hacking tools?
A few years ago.
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, they got tools leaked because of either someone there leaked them out or someone breached them. I can't remember which. That's how we found about what was it? Blue Keeper or Project? What was that? What was the big SMB one that came out? Blue something.
There was one. There was one that did a reverse engineering. I'm trying to remember the name of that one, where it would go through all the code.
Eternal Blue, that's what it was. Eternal Blue, but that came from the NSA, but I don't know. I can't remember how. I know that was leaked out. I don't know if that was an inside job or if that was like someone had hacked and found their tools repos, or if it was reverse engineering.
With the Shadow Brokers leak.
Yeah, that was part of Shadow Brokers probably. So that was espionage. But I'm sure that, like you are saying, Barry, I'm sure there is reverse engineering.
Well, there's an actual name for it. I just don't know. I don't know if I have a link for it. I mean, it's been a while, and I don't, even though I have plenty of programming experience, I just don't mess with it anymore. Yeah. But it's out there. I mean, if I remember, it's Gidros or something like that. Gidra,
yeah.
GHIDRA or something like that.
Gidra, yeah, it's after the Japanese name, yeah.
We can go back to China.
No,
China.
Well, so China has debt traps all throughout Africa. I think they got some Maltese officials got busted after being bribed by China. And I'm not sure how much Huawei has infected them. And there's New Guinea, one of the New Guineas. They're just refusing to pay the debt because Huawei came in and set up a data center and installed spyware everywhere, including their cell phone system. They're trying to throw them out.
Yeah, and a lot of China's economic power that they talk about is very shaky at best. I mean, they've done so much rapid expansion within their borders over the past 10 years. They kind of hold most of that strength through just holding assets, and they have very little actual capital to work with. So if a lot of their debts get called, they fold.
Well, I mean, they own a lot of debt. Okay,
that too.
But then, that's why they have debt trap diplomacy. They're using debt to try to gain footholds in countries throughout the world. They're trying to take over all the mining for precious minerals, for lithium and stuff in Africa. I mean, they're really trying to corner the market on all of it. throughout
Yeah.
the world.
And they probably are leveraging some of that curried debt as part of their economic growth and economic footprint, but that doesn't work. I mean, that only works on paper. It actually gives you no real strength.
All right. So that's our first story in politics, and you guys did an excellent job discussing it. You all get gold stars. Next, we're going to be talking about the Supreme Court allows the Trump administration to end census counting on October 15th. And what is this one about? Well, as you all know, the census is currently going on, right? So the High Court has ordered that following an emergency request from the Justice Department last week, President Trump now has the ability to alter the count while in office by excluding unauthorized immigrants from the numbers used to reallocate congressional seats and electoral college votes for the next 10 years.
Okay.
Justice Sonia Sotomayor was the lone dissenter from the unsigned court order. Hours after the ruling was released, the U.S. Census Bureau announced it will keep accepting responses online at my2020census.gov through October 15th at midnight, Hawaii time. The Bureau has also set October 15th as the postmark date for the paper forms, as well as the end date for collecting phone responses and knocking at unresponsive households. In a statement, Kristen Clark of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, one of the attorneys who helped bring the lawsuit to extend the census schedule, noted that the order will result in irreversible damage. Despite the challengers' effort to secure more time on the clock to achieve a fair and accurate count. Stephen Roe Lewis, governor of Gila River Indian Community, one of the lawsuit's plaintiffs, claimed the ruling a bitter pill for us to swallow here on the res. With no explanation or rationale, a majority decided that our people do not deserve to be counted, thus continuing a long history of leaving Indian people at the margins of the U.S. society at large and economy. Sadiq Husni, the plaintiff's attorney with the law firm Latham and Watkins, said in a statement that the challengers remain focused on ensuring that the Bureau's data collections and whatever data processing timelines the Bureau may implement are consistent with the Constitution and Administrative Procedure Act standards for reasoned decision making. The court's ruling, in the latest turn, in a roller coaster of a legal fight over the timeline for the court, last-minute changes by the Census Bureau and skirting of an earlier court order for the count have left local communities and the Bureau's workers across the U.S. unsure how much longer they can take part in a nationally held count already upheld by the coronavirus pandemic. Lower courts previously ordered the administration to keep counting through October 31st, reverting to an extended schedule that the Trump officials had proposed in April in response to delays caused by the pandemic and abruptly decided to abandon in July. More time, judges have ruled, would give the Bureau a better chance of getting an accurate and complete count of the country's residents, which would then be used to determine how political representation in the federal funding are distributed among the states over the next decade. Justice Department attorneys for the Census Bureau is under pressure to meet a legal deadline of December 31st for reporting to the president the first census results. The state population counts that determine the state's share of the 435 seats in the House of Representatives. The numbers in turn also determine how many electoral college votes each state gets, and who becomes the U.S. president in 2024 and 2028. The person who wrote the dissenting opinion, Sotomayor, said meeting all the deadline at the expense of accuracy of the census is not cost worth paying, especially when the government has failed to show why it could not bear the lesser cost of expending more resources to meet the deadline, continuing its prior efforts to seek an extension from Congress. Still, if the Commerce Secretary, who oversees the Bureau, were to present a new state count to the White House by December 31st, that would ensure that Trump did not win re-election. He could attempt to carry the unprecedented challenge he wants to make who is counted when determining the reallocation of House seats. Despite the Constitution's requirement to include the whole number of persons in each state, the president's limited authority over the census, Trump wants to try to exclude unauthorized immigrants from being among those numbers.
Well, that part sounds okay. I mean, if someone's not a citizen, why would they be counted?
Well, they're even counting, non-U.S. citizens in the census, which I don't think is right. I mean,
No.
But they're also there are clauses in the Constitution that says, individuals under the law, okay, which means they're legally here versus not legally here. And one big issue and why the one party wants complete open borders is because they want to count everybody in the census in major urban areas so they can have larger congressional districts. And they're trying to do away with the Electoral College also, which is going to, if they do away with that, then New York, California, and Illinois will determine the president of the United States. That's it.
Yeah, personally, what's good for California is not necessarily good for Indiana. So I like the Electoral College.
I mean, that's why the Electoral College was created, is so that smaller states could get a bigger voice, at least in choosing the president. And it was.
If you want your vote to count, move to a smaller state.
And the senators used to be chosen by state legislatures.
Yep. All right, so next we've got an article Adrian will no doubt comment on. Proud Boys website kicked off web host Google Cloud. Following years of lobbying efforts, Google intervenes with one of its own customers to have the Proud Boys website moved off of its platform.
Shit. They've made much hubbub about this. Essentially, it's a conservative drinking club. It's not a white supremacist group. The leader is an Afro-Cuban dude. The founder is married to a Native American woman. One of the members that got arrested in New York City is married to a black woman. No one I can think of is married to an Asian woman. Those black members, apparently in Florida, and I've heard in Texas, a large percentage of the members are Hispanic, and actually whites are a minority in it. I think it's kind of dumb sometimes to show up at protests because it might stir up more violence. But it started off as a joke on what is it, Anthony Cumia's show maybe, it was his network, but Gavin McInnes' show, where they basically want to make a drinking club and they made up a bunch of silly rules. But the way people portray it, even if you try to explain it to them, they don't understand it. And no, I am not a fucking member, despite what some dumbasses on Twitter say. I just actually like following fringe groups online to figure out what they're actually about.
Well,
Tim Pool had a really good interview with the chairman a couple days ago. There's clips of that out there.
Now, did they say why they were kicked off the platform?
Yep.
Well,
so Google got lobbied by an organization called Color of Change.
Yeah. I know that.
The largest racial justice organization in the U.S. It is a response to persistent demands from Color of Change and our allies, according to Rashad Robinson, whoever that is, the Color of Change president, I think. Following years of pressure, the company successfully got a Google Cloud service customer hosting the Proud Boys website to remove the violent hate speech online. The progress is important, but now we call on Google's peers to follow suit. After a heads up from Color of Change, we notified our customer, a website hoster, who then took action. The website in question were not Google Cloud customers, a Google spokesman told ZDNet, but the Proud Boys websites haven't been offline for long.
My damn Google device here.
The mic's.
So apparently someone was using Google Cloud as a hosting platform, and they were a reseller of it, and the reseller terminated their account because they were a customer of the reseller.
Right.
Okay.
That seems to be it.
And so we don't know why they did it, other than, hey, it's a bad idea, or what.
I think they were just probably tired of getting lobbied from Color of Change.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it kind of reminds me of what happened to the Daily Stormer, and yeah, you know, it's a neo-Nazi group, and yeah, they're fucking horrible, but they've got the right to freedom of speech like anyone else, and they were
neo-Nazi. They're now being hosted by a German web provider called 1&1 Inos.
But they were originally had DDoS protection through Cloudflare, and one day, this was like 5-6 years ago, the CEO of Cloudflare woke up one morning and said, "You know what? Fuck them, kick them off." Just very meticulous, or very mercurial attitude. It was just said, "Fuck it, kick them off."
Maybe people should instead research what groups are causing violence in various cities around the nation. Picking up Kenosha, Portland, and Seattle and such, and New York also, I've heard, and maybe shut their sites down instead. I'm not going to say they should do that, but they're going to be consistent.
I think it's more about public perceived image than actually caring about the cause of these places.
Yeah, it's not like the Proud Boys people actually riot unless someone starts fighting with them. There was a questionable incident, at least in New York, and they are definitely showing up places willing to fight and so forth.
For these companies, it's about the bottom line. Like if they're getting lobbied from some change organization, right? And this organization's calling up their other clients and being like, "Do you know that your web hosting provider hosts a Nazi site?" They'd be like, even if it's conjecture and bullshit, and like, even if it's not completely accurate, they don't care. They're losing customers because of it, so they're just going to dump them.
I guess that's what's called qualitative risk.
Yeah. Let's talk about Genghis Khan. You guys remember Genghis Khan?
I heard we're all related to him.
Yeah, man. Well, China doesn't want the Genghis Khan memorial to have the words Genghis Khan on it.
Why not?
Because Mongols. China doesn't like Mongols, and he was a Mongol.
Oh, okay.
And so they're building this giant Genghis Khan statue. It's like a freaking Statue of Liberty, but it's Genghis Khan. And it doesn't say Genghis Khan on it.
Why did they even allow him to build it then?
I don't know. I think it's a compromise. It's really weird.
The statue is in China, correct?
Yeah. So the museum where the statue is said, "We made the decision to stop this production in the name of human, scientific, and ethical values that we defend." Chinese authorities demanded that certain words, including Genghis Khan, Empire, and Mogul, be taken out. It's Mongolia. It's what used to be called Mongolia.
Well, it's an actual, they're ethnic Mongolians. And I think that Genghis Khan was a Muslim too, wasn't he? I mean,
not that I've ever heard of.
I don't know what religion he was, but regardless of that,
I think I was in the Muslim period. But I
suppose
suppose
the Chinese government of trying to rewrite history.
Well, supposedly only about 20 or 30 million people are actual descendants of Genghis Khan, but he's the most prolific rapist in the world.
I'm looking up his religion because I'm curious. Because I don't think that all corresponds. Apparently, well, shit. Apparently, crap. It got away from me.
You fail at research. And you must go back to doing entry-level IT.
At the time of Genghis Khan in the 13th century, virtually every religion had found converts, from Buddhists to Eastern Christianity and Manchurian, whatever that is, and Islam. And apparently, to avoid strife, Genghis Khan set up an institution that ensured complete religious freedom, though he himself was a shamanist. I'm not sure what that is, but...
Right. And that is the end of our politics section. We've got some just regular science news for you, which is pretty cool, actually. They finally found a room temperature superconductor. So, if you know anything about superconductors, is they need to usually be kept very, very cold. So it's like you want something to conduct electricity without resistance. You need it to be very, 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 very cold. Otherwise, there's going to be some resistance. And it won't be a superconductor. And you can't do really, really fast computations with it. So it's taken over a century to find something that we can use as a semiconductor, as a superconductor, that will work at room temperature.
59 degrees Fahrenheit is not exactly room temperature.
Well, 15 Celsius, 59 Fahrenheit. It's close.
And it has to be under high pressure.
Refrigerator. So they said the results are nothing short of beautiful. The new material's superconducting superpower appears only at extremely high pressures, limiting its practical usefulness, unfortunately. The colleagues formed the superconductor by squeezing carbon, hydrogen, and sulfur between the tips of diamonds and hitting the material with 8 laser lights to induce chemical reactions. A pressure of about 2.6 million times that of the Earth's atmosphere and temperature below 15 degrees Celsius, the electrical resistances vanished. Superconductors and magnetic fields are known to clash. Strong magnetic fields inhibit superconductivity. Sure enough, when the material was placed in a magnetic field, lower temperatures were needed to make it superconduct. The team also applied oscillating magnetic material into the material and showed that when the material became a superconductor, it expelled the magnetic field from its interior, another sign of superconductivity. Usually, a superconductor needs to be at about absolute zero or negative 273.15 degrees Celsius. It's interesting. I don't know shit about superconductors. I know they're like, if you want to have a quantum computer, apparently you need superconductors. But yeah.
In a nutshell, you don't have it generating heat as it's passing current flow. That's what.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So you don't have a resistance there, and so you don't have a loss due to heat.
Right, and that to expound upon that, when current passes through a circuit, it generates heat, which increases the resistance of it. So by doing that, you're basically having less entropy.
Is that why when my CPU gets really hot, my computer slows down?
Yeah, actually, a lot of them they'll do thermal throttling. So as your temperature increases, they will slow it down to try and keep it from overheating. Because if it gets too hot, it'll usually just straight halt. They'll usually just stop interaction to avoid burnout.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's the end of my show notes.
Well, we could bring up the fraudulent nano diamond batteries, which are beta voltaic, which they're using a carbon-14 to recharge the battery, but it only produces 100 microwatts, which is not enough to recharge a battery. They're trying. There's a lot of schemes and scams with, where they're trying to have, super batteries and stuff like that. It's really interesting. Start getting into it. So if you hear about a nano diamond battery,
Yeah.
it's a beta voltaic, and it only produces 100 microwatts. So that means you're not going to get. It'll take 28 years to recharge.
I've seen a lot of those on Facebook and such to talk about some super new battery tech that requires like very little charging, takes very little space, and then you actually look at the science a bit and you realize, no, this won't work, because in order to actually get it to work in a real appliance, it actually has to have like a giant brick of it, to the point where there's this one device they talked about where it uses the natural decay of
carbon-14.
I think it may be carbon-14. It was either
or tritium.
I think it was one of the two, because it was considered a waste product, so they're able to capture it using little tiny amounts, and the amount of energy it gives off is just so minuscule that you would need literally fields of them to charge like most appliances, most devices.
Now, I did buy what's called a real graphene battery pack, a recharge, and that one is real. That's using graphene, and they got patents and everything else, and that just, it charges stuff very fast and holds a lot of charge, but they're expensive. I paid, $60 for the thing. So yeah, I could charge up a phone in, minutes for this thing. So if you look up real graphene, you'll see, and that's the real deal, because that's been tested.
Hey, your Twint program apparently is no longer working. About 23 days ago, they killed off the legacy API that it uses.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Uh-oh. I didn't even know they used a legacy API.
Yep. I found this thread when I Googled the error message I was getting. And it
yeah, I know I had a Twitter bot for a while that was doing some stuff, and unfortunately because of API changes it got fucked.
Well, that same legacy API, is what the news organization, everybody's using to pull tweets. So that's gonna, Twitter is starting to, they banned the White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany. They locked her account.
Yeah, wasn't that because of some leaks about Joe Biden's son's emails?
Yeah, they're blocking everything that has to do with the Hunter Biden, Burisma, and the prosecutor. That's they're saying that Joe Biden didn't get the prosecutor for Ukraine canned when Joe Biden was publicly admitted he did it. You can't, he said he did it. They're trying to deny it existed. And so Twitter, of course, is, the New York Times or Washington Post says, well, this wasn't really true, but Ukrainians are saying it's true. The Ukrainians are worried that Biden's going to win, so they have to kind of be vague about this stuff because it's political. But I mean, Joe Biden came out and said, hey, they're going after my son Hunter about corruption. I had that shut down. I mean, he said it.
Well, he didn't say about corruption. I don't think he said that. He did say something about getting the prosecutor canned, but I don't think he tied it to his own son.
No, he maybe didn't, but that of course was why.
All right, what is a Tingrist? What is Tingrist? This may be something about the religious question earlier. All right. By the way, when I bring up an overlay, do you all see it on your screens?
All right, what are we looking for?
Like this. You see a message from Cannibalistic up on the screen.
Yeah, I can see it on StreamYard. Yeah, let me see if I can see it on YouTube.
It should. I'm sure it does, because otherwise, why bother putting that feature in?
Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, I switched back to the.
Yeah, I like the StreamYard a whole lot better than I did Jitsi. Jitsi was a great thing until I got a hold of this, but I like the way you can lay people out in this better.
Well, I'm going to try to get, whenever I get time, which is, it probably won't be till after I get moved. OBS, Open Broadcast Studio. I'm going to try to see if I can do some fun stuff with that.
Yeah, I use that for recording conferences and so forth. It's good for that, but for the kind of stream I do with all the people I end up adding, it's nice to use as a service like this.
Well, the nice thing is you can use OBS and you can create virtual links to all this stuff in OBS. So, if you want to share a screen, you just dump it in and it shows up. In other words, you can mix and match. So in other words, if you wanted to stream out to several, you Twitch or something like that, you could do that.
Well, I can stream with more things with this also. If OBS, I was having some problems with the sound system and so forth, and getting everybody on, and not having it use my mic to get my speakers. And there was some workarounds for that, but I just ended up using this.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll have to delve into StreamYard. I mean, I don't, I haven't, I'm not an AV guy. I mean, I got a nice microphone. I got a Samsung G-Track Pro. And, it's equivalent to a Yeti.
Cool. I just use the one built into my Mac.
And, I could do the voice effects. I could have the radio DJ voice if I wanted to. I'd have to do it through either OBS or, what do you call it? What's that stupid program that,
No, mine. I'm not sure.
I mean, whatever potato. Okay. I think I uninstalled it because it was causing my system problems. But it was basically a way to tune up your sound.
Okay, I have no idea. I'd like to find something live and that is maybe non-reversible. I have a friend who might want to get on the cast, but she lives in a country where it's not exactly safe to say anything about the government, apparently, or about certain religions. That's about all I know. And she doesn't want to be on with her real voice.
Well, you can do, well, I mean, what was it? Many host modular. I think you can add some.
We could do some kind of loopback thing with the audio. You could figure something.
Well, no, you can actually add distortion and what do you call that? Where you can. I mean, you can change your voice with some of these add-ons, and you could, in other words, you put, you link your microphone to this like mini host modular, and then you link it to the service you're going to be talking through, and it changes your voice. And it's basically free. So Twint is shut down, huh?
It doesn't seem to be working right now. I'm reading the GitHub page, and a lot of issues. Pretty much everyone's having the same issue because it's not working. Some people have found clever workarounds, but I haven't actually implemented them yet.
Yeah, I mean, if I use basically a fake account API, maybe there's a way to get to it through it. I mean, I'm sure there's an option to do that.
And like I said, I've been reading through the stuff. There's some forks of it where people say their fork works, but I haven't tried it yet. I'll play with it more later.
Well, I think the Trump admin is going to go after Twitter and Facebook because they've already started censorship in a big way where they're gonna revoke any liability protections they have, and I think that's going to be such a massive lawsuits, and I also think that maybe even criminal stuff because of what they're doing. Because they are actively involved in election interference now.
We'll see how that goes. I mean, he had I want to say about 2 years ago, didn't he have a meetup with a bunch of people from like YouTube and so forth that about censorship, and then nothing really came of it?
Well, because they don't care. I mean, they're happy to talk to him, and they can tell him they hate him or whatever, but they're not gonna.
No, this was people who wanted to get rid of censorship that came to the White House. People like Tim Pool, and I can't remember who all else. So this was the opposite thing. This was people who wanted to get rid of internet censorship.
Well, I think that they've gone way too far. I mean, as far as banning and locking people out, for just I mean, I've seen real targeted harassment gangs going on.
Yeah, and the people that kick out for what reasons? Like, I'm wondering if it got Sargon of Akkad kicked off. At one time I heard he was arguing with a bunch of alt-righters, so he started sending them gay interracial porn. But I'm not sure that's what actually got him.
Well, I mean, that's just kind of stupid when he does that. Okay, I mean, is he doing it on Twitter? That's no, you don't want to do it.
You can have porn on Twitter, man.
Well, I know that. I've seen it.
I've started some of it. So I don't know exactly. I guess it's a form of harassment, but these people, I'm pretty sure, were harassing back and forth. That's nothing that gets me about harassment. There's always people who whine about harassment, and most of the time when I look at it, they were harassing someone else, and then they got harassed back. There's one person in InfoSec who's famous for doing this.
Wow. It's alive! Alive!
It works?
You got it to work.
You got
with
a
different
it can get it to work. So I pulled down a version somebody fudged with and got it to work. This is the command I used right here.
I would do limit 100 because it's just going to keep on going for 3,200 tweets.
Anyway, that command right there is what I used to get it to work. It's essentially just cloning a different person's copy of it and installing it with pip right into Python.
You might want to put that in the show notes. So I mean, I can see it, but
take this. Show notes.
and hopefully they didn't mess with the code any. I mean, I'll run it in a VM anyway. So
Commit from 3 days ago, and it looks like this guy's made a lot of commits to the project, so it's probably okay. All right, where am I putting this? Yeah, all these freaking things in here. All right, I'll put it under the InfoSec tool and review demo. I go twint to get working. Do this. Bonk. And then D. How was the tool I did? G something. G poop. No. GitHub.com. G info. No. What was the name of the tool I did before? God damn it, my brain is freaking macaroni.
What is all right? What is this? I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Himensu Dabas. Good shit.
Oh, thanks. Actually, maybe that's what it means. Good shit in that language.
Monster Davis.
I'm not exactly sure what
the name of the person who fixed Twint. And this is handle. And it's not what I was talking about. I'm talking about the other tool, which was started with a G, and I forget what the hell.
Projects are alive because of such contributors.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, the other tool was the Google G Hunt.
Thank you. Freaking brain fart today. Put that in the show notes also.
Well, I'm drinking beer, so I got an excuse.
My brain is just fried. Yeah, John Strand's going to be giving a talk tomorrow about. He's from Black Hills Information Security, and he's going to be talking about SOC burnout. It's a real thing, man. Yeah, like you use all your processing cycles, and you got nothing left. Anybody who's interested in Security Onion, tomorrow, I think, maybe Friday, I don't know. Soon, they are doing the Security Onion conference. You go check that out and learn more about Security Onion. Doug does a good job.
It's all online this year because of all the cancellation.
Because of the Pelosi virus. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to call it that.
The Chicom virus, whatever it is.
Winnie the Flu is my personal favorite.
Winnie the Flu.
The sweet and sour sicken.
What was that?
The sweet and sour sicken.
Ooh, shit, yeah.
Well, I've already caught it, so I have some immunity, at least for the next few years until it branches enough.
Now, is it years, a month, or what? Actually, I assume they probably really don't know yet.
Well, I mean, they're saying some people are getting catching it again, and that may be some people that are retaining it like the herpes virus or something like that. Okay. In other words, it never went away in their body. They just kind of hung around. I mean, you got to have antibodies and T cells fighting this junk. And I was sick for 5 weeks. I got both. Now, the one thing is it's novel, meaning one branch. Okay, we got
what novel meant new in this case? Because I've heard there's multiple branches.
No, I mean, it's varied a little bit. I mean, now it infects people faster, 1.4 days on average, and it's less lethal. But it's still the same virus because, if they come out with a vaccine, it'll be from the root virus. So it's not like influenza, which is mixes and matches together and has so many different branches that, it alters itself. And, it crosses from animals to people and, birds and everything else. So that's why you have to keep taking. And yeah, I was sick all day yesterday because I had 2 vaccines. I had flu and shingles, and shingles caused me to have arthritis in the hands. I just said, heck with that. I'm not going to drive. Shingles got the shingles virus, and I never had the chicken pox. That sucked. I mean, I had fevers. I felt like garbage. Two vaccines at once. Well, I might as well suffer for, but. Yeah, the arthritis in the hands thing threw me for a loop. No grip strength whatsoever. I could barely hold a bottle of water.
Oh, yeah, that's the name of the contributor you pulled the repo from.
Correct.
That's why I'm not pronouncing your name, Mr. Doshi or Mrs. Doshi. I talked to them some on Twitter.
Yeah, your pronunciation was spot on.
Cool. That's from them also. Well, does anybody have anything else they want to say on stream?
I think we're pretty much good.
All right.
We got the stuff working. Both the tools we demoed actually ended up working by the end of the day, so that's always a good thing. Really embarrassing when you demo a tool and you can't get it to work.
All right.
Well, Twitter broke Twint, so
I'm going to end the stream. See y'all next Wednesday.
All right. Have a good one.
Say goodbye, people. Actually, we'll go stay on and listen to each other for a bit, but it's going off YouTube. Bye, all.